everyone. I want to do a longer book review of Fearless. I don't know if I've actually even shared some on Instagram, so some of you might not know me, but you might want to know some of more thoughts on Fearless. This is my first book review, long book review I'm ever posting, so I'm kind of excited. I have a lot of thoughts about this. If you haven't read Fearless yet, spoilers, hardcore spoilers. And if you're not a huge fan of this book, you're gonna like this video. But if you do like this book, not yucking anyone's yum, if you like that, that's totally fine. I just personally was not a huge fan of this book. I had a lot of different issues with it. I wasn't a huge fan of Reckless either. So that was the thing. I liked Powerless. I thought Powerless was good. I think I gave that one a 4-star. I thought the story was fun. I liked the trials. I liked that situation. I don't know. I just enjoyed that. I wasn't a huge fan of the ending in Powerless, how it was I do like that she killed the king. That guy needed to die, obviously. But I didn't like how it ended with the two of them in conflict. That's just me personally. I don't necessarily think that was bad, so that's not a huge issue with it. But it was more just that was not my favorite ending. And then Reckless came along, and I felt like it was super repetitive. They kind of just did the same thing over and over again. It was enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers to enemies to lovers. And so I think that was one of my biggest issues with that. And then Fearless came along, and I was my hopes are high. I'm going to go into this feeling good about it, feeling okay, this is going to be better than Reckless. Because Reckless wasn't necessarily bad, it was just repetitive, and I was bored, and it wasn't something that I super enjoyed. So I went into this trying to have better hopes and be more optimistic, and I was sorely disappointed. It started off just it started off really interesting. The first chapter, the prologue, was really fascinating. It was really short, and you weren't sure who they were talking to. That I thought was really fun. I don't mark up books, and I might need to start doing that if I'm going to be posting longer reviews. But we'll see. And I just kind of felt like Fearless was almost just a redo of Powerless, but with a little bit different. Peyton and Kai were still not together, constantly fighting their feelings for each other. And I get why with the situation, because she was engaged to Kit, but it was also just we know you're gonna end up together. It's not that I wanted them to have an affair or anything, but at the same time I was I don't know. I was guys, I was we know it's gonna happen. This book, one thing I will definitely say, it did not need to be 588 pages. I have no idea why this book was that long. There were so many instances where the chapters, they were just thinking in their heads about things that were going on. And that's fine, that's great, but I just didn't feel like there was as much dialogue between characters, and I felt like it was a lot of them thinking about things that were happening, about things that were going on. And so I was I don't know if I like this. And so that I wasn't a huge fan of. And there were multiple chapters where they were saying the same thing over and over again. I remember in one chapter, Peyton is talking to Kit about something. This is after she's trying to reconcile with him, trying to apologize for the things that she's done. And yeah, he said something. I don't remember what he said. This is why I need to annotate if I'm going to start posting more book reviews on YouTube. And if you like this review, let me know, and I will post more of these. But it was just he said the same thing twice, literally only a few pages apart. And I was why are we reiterating this? We've already talked about this. And it had been mentioned earlier in the book. And so that was the thing I really did not understand. It just felt like a repeat of Powerless, if that makes sense. Because I was why are we doing trials again? I was come on, I wanted something new. I wanted something different. I liked the trials from the first book. I did. You can see it up here. I liked the trials from the first book. I thought that was fun. I had a good time with that. One of my favorite scenes from Powerless is the woods, where they're out during one of those trials and Kai and Peyton are surviving together. I love that. I still think about that. I loved that so much. But this just redoing the trials, it almost felt, and I don't want to be mean here, but it felt lazy. it just kind of felt like she didn't really know what to do with this, and so she just kind of did the same thing that she did with the first one. And so I think that was one of my biggest issues with it, is like, why are we doing trials yet again for the second time in this series? And it's not even like the series is very long. It's only a trilogy. I mean, I guess if you count the novella, it's 4 books, but I don't always count a novella necessarily, just depending. Like, I count it, but these are just like, it's the main story, if that makes sense. Yeah, I just kind of felt like that was weird. And then the thing was, like, too, during the first trial, she's going to find the lost queen, or like, no, the buried queen's crown. The queen has been buried for, I do not remember how long. She's been buried for a very long time. Nobody in like centuries, and they specify this, centuries, has found this crown. And then all of a sudden, Peyton just somehow stumbles through a hole in the cave and finds it within like 5 minutes. And so I was like, okay, what? That felt so ridiculous to me. I was like, no, that can't be right. I was like, that can't be right, because people have been looking for this for what, like 100, 200 years, and Peyton just finds it within 5 minutes, instant, just boom, she's done, whatever. That's crazy to me. That felt crazy. I was like, okay, that was probably one of my biggest issues with the trials. And then she goes overseas. What was the kingdom that she went to? I don't even remember the kingdom that she went to take the roses for the second trial. But then it was like, she goes over there, she makes it through the ocean. That's fine, I understand. Some people make it, some people don't. It's fine. But then she's traveling, and she's going, and then on their way back, the Kraken appears, basically, from Pirates of the Caribbean. The Kraken is here. The Kraken is going to kill all of them. And nobody has ever been able to destroy this beast that I call the Kraken. And then all of a sudden, Peyton just does it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no issues, no problems, everything's done. Everything's been fixed, everything's been finished. And I was like, what? That was instant. What are you doing? I was like, that makes no sense. And so that was another one of my issues with this book. Like, everything Peyton did, it just felt like she breezed through it for no apparent reason. She also focuses so heavily on the fact that she doesn't have abilities, and she thinks that she's like powerless and she can't do anything and all this stuff. And I kind of wanted to see her overcome those negative thoughts about herself, about not having power, about feeling like she's incapable. And I don't really feel like she did until the very, very end of the book. Because the entire time she's talking about how she's not able to do anything and she's powerless, but she's literally the one who's constantly doing things that nobody's ever been able to do. And so it just makes no sense to me. I don't like how they did Mac. They did him dirty. They did him so dirty. He felt really different in Fearless than he did in Powerful. I was like, whoa, this doesn't even feel like the same guy. Like, I get that he was angry and I get that he was upset. But I don't know, he felt like a different character, and I felt like what they did was really, like, I feel like it was really dirty. Because I liked him. I thought he was a good character. I actually kind of liked him and Adina better than I did Pei and Kai at times, because they just kind of got on my nerves occasionally. But I just felt like it felt kind of pointless to bring him in, if that makes sense. Like, he didn't really give anything to the story. He didn't really do anything. He didn't really contribute in any new way other than just to die. So I was like, what was kind of the point of this? I also really don't get with incest. No thanks. Why? Like, and I know that some people might be thinking, well, it happens in Star Wars. She kisses, like Luke kisses Leia. And I get that. That was not great. But George Lucas also didn't know that he was going to make them siblings until the 6th movie, so it feels a little different. Whereas she knew exactly what she was doing, and she still had Peyton and Kit get married and be half siblings, kiss each other, then decide to remain married. What? Like, she had them decide to remain married after they realized they were half siblings. And then you learn later down the road that Kit already knew they were half siblings when they got married, and he still went with that? No, absolutely not. that is dabbling in incest, if you ask me. And I'm really not a fan of that. I don't know if this will get demonetized on YouTube for me just saying incest. It might. And I didn't think about that. So I might have to refilm this part. Yeah, I'm not for that at all. I have no idea why that was a necessary plot point to have. Why do we have siblings kissing each other? Why do we have siblings staying married? Why do we have siblings deciding to stay married after they've kissed each other and they know that they're half siblings? And I think I just said the same thing twice. But I don't care because I was shook. I was like, why? Why are we doing this? And then, I mean, I liked, of course, that Kai and Peyton ended up together. That was good. That was fine. It was whatever. It just felt like weirdly rushed, though. I don't know, that part, like the last 100 pages of this book, everything feels so rushed. Like Kai killing Kit felt really rushed. Kit taking the plague felt really rushed. All of this just felt so rushed to me, like right at the last 100 pages. Like you could have taken out like this middle section of all this dialogue or you could have like stretched out the ending a little bit more. I just don't understand why it was so rushed. And the epilogue made zero sense to me. I had no idea what the point of that even was. I don't even get that. I was like, what are we doing? I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. I didn't like this book. And the main thing for me was the incest. Like, boringness aside, repetitiveness aside, like, why? I don't think my eyes can get any bigger than this. Why? Like, I don't understand. I got through this book and I had never been happier to finish a book in my whole life. The only reason that I even finished it is because I was reading it with a friend and she was dedicated to finishing it, so I was dedicated to finishing it. By like halfway through, I didn't even care what happened to Peyton and Kai anymore because I was so bored. I gave this overall a 1 star because I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't like what she did with Kit and Peyton. That felt like crossing a weird line that I'm not a huge fan of. And yeah, everything felt so insignificant and unimportant. Like, important things would happen and it would be passed over. And it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't enjoy this. If you liked this book, that's totally fine. That's great. Everybody has different opinions. Everybody has their own taste. I can understand why people like this book. I just personally felt like the writing made no sense. The writing was really repetitive. The writing was really boring. And I just think some different decisions could have been made to make this better. And I also like the overall general idea of this book. I liked the overall general idea of Powerless. I liked the general idea of like Reckless, but I just think it was executed in a poor way. I just think it could have been done better. But that's just me personally. If you don't agree, that's totally fine. But I don't think, even if Lauren Roberts comes out with more books, I don't know if I'd ever pick one up again after this. I don't understand why it's getting 5 stars from some people. That I don't understand. But again, we all have different taste, and that's totally fine. I just am like, what is going on, girl? You know what I mean? So, this is the first review I'm posting mainly because I had so many thoughts about this after finishing it. I might start posting more reviews. I have some positive reviews. I just finished Funny Story over here, and oh my gosh, I love that book. So if you want more book reviews just in general about books that I finish, they'll probably just be short stuff like this. So if you watch this and you decide you want that, let me know in the comments, and I will try to start posting more book reviews. But yeah, so I think that's kind of the end of my thoughts. If you didn't like Fearless, also let me know, because then it will make me feel better. But yeah, just let me know, and thank you for watching if you were still here. Bye.